So I'm just gonna, I think, keep this down to 3, because this is the only 3 spooky ones I can think of for right now. And I know what'll happen after I'm done with the video. I'll think of something else, but as for right now, I have 3. I guess the first one would be, you just have to connect the dots. So I'm going to tell you about Hopetown, located in Santa Susana, California, which was originally called Corriganville. Some guy back in the 30s or the 40s purchased this lot of property in Santa Susana, at the foot of the Santa Susana Pass, and it was the Corriganville, like a movie ranch company, and then later Bob Hope bought it, and it was changed to Hopetown. But the spooky connection for me, and I'll tell you the story so you can connect the dots. You know that movie Poltergeist, the very, very first Poltergeist movie with, I believe the guy's name is Craig T. Nelson, the dad, and the mom is Jo Beth Williams, and the cute little girl who died at a young age. But anyway, this all came to me when that movie was made, I believe in the 80s. You know how at the end of the movie it's revealed that their property, the lot of homes or the tract of homes, and specifically the house where they lived, was all built on top of a cemetery, and that the builder tried to hide the fact that they removed all these headstones and they used this cemetery as a new housing for having built new housing tract. So when I saw this movie in the 80s, that's when this little story about Hopetown, formerly known as Corriganville, became like a spooky celebrity story, real celebrity story in my life. So in the early 60s, when I was just 3 or 4 years old, we moved to Simi Valley. But back in the day, the far side of Simi Valley, the far eastern side of Simi Valley, was known as Santa Susana. They even had 2 different zip codes. It was Santa Susana, or the zip code, and then Simi Valley was like the far west side with a different zip code. And Santa Susana was located like down, kind of by the foot, we call it like the foot of the pass, Santa Susana Pass Road that you would take back in the day to get to the San Fernando Valley before the 118 freeway was even built. So, we lived in a tract of homes right across the road from Hopetown. And like I said, it was originally called Corriganville, where a ton of Western movies were filmed, I believe, in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Not sure of the filming dates, but I know for sure in the 50s, possibly the 40s. So anyway, and they later called it Hopetown because Bob Hope. So, at a very young age, I remember they would be having these huge, I think they were like motorcycle races, and it was like the time when Hopetown was open and you could go in, because normally it was never opened. We would drive by and they had these big wooden gates out front and everything was boarded up. You could never see anything. It was just like a closed down ghost town, and all you could see in the front were the wooden gates. It was closed. Once in a great while, they'd have these motorcycle races, and I remember my dad getting excited and us walking through the field and seeing all the hullabaloo. But we never went in. I never got to go in. I would always try to look to see inside those wooden gates. I could never be satisfied. And my dad was not he wasn't a Hollywood guy. He was a real simple, easygoing, down-to-earth guy. He wasn't into Hollywood movie stars, big crowds and big noise. He wasn't into any of that. So we always kind of stayed our distance. And I was in grammar school at the time, but I wanted so much to go there. Oh, we never went. So then comes along the movie Poltergeist in the 80s. And I'm remembering how those homes were built over the cemeteries. Then I also noticed, if I have my research correctly, that part of the filming location of that movie was done in Simi Valley. Like that Poltergeist house is somewhere in Santa Susana or Simi Valley. So I just was thinking about that. I just love Hollywood. I love movie stars. The thought of Beverly Hills, always has just excited me as a young kid. So in the 80s, I was just remembering that. So I'll be darned if somewhere, and I don't know when, Hopetown got plowed down and they started building homes. And one day, as I was like kind of reminiscing, and we drive back to our hometown, which is only like not even an hour away. I still live in Ventura County. We go there, and there is no more Hopetown. It is completely bulldozed down, and there's all these homes now built. So immediately, all I'm thinking of is, oh my goodness, they bulldozed down this Hollywood estate, and there were tons of things that happened there. All the shootouts, all the famous movie stars and cowboys, and John Wayne, everybody that was there that's now dead. But somehow when I passed by it and saw that it was plowed down and there were houses now built over it, all I kept thinking of was that movie from Poltergeist, how they plowed down the cemeteries and they have houses now built right over the cemetery. So I kept thinking, do those people even know, like, really what a historical place to the world? I know it sounds like I'm completely exaggerating, but really when you think of the area here and all the filming, the movie stars, and just all the stuff that is known worldwide, that's kind of cool. It's kind of big. And I'm wondering if those people even know that they're living right on top of like Corriganville, which was like an original movie ranch. So anyways, that's a little bit spooky to me. How to this day, when I drive down, I believe it's Cooner Road. I get my roads mixed up. It's an off-ramp, Cooner off-ramp up the 118. You drive down there, and every time I pass that track, which is kind of right next to this little A-frame food stand, I always think of that, and it's still spooky to me to this day. And I do believe the track of homes has something in it, like hope something. I'll have to do my research, but I think the track of homes, the name of it is somehow related to Hometown. I can't remember exactly, but to this day when I drive by, it's still spooky to me. And that houses are right over Hometown. Okay, so there's that little spooky story. I know it might sound silly to you guys, but to me it's really something. Then the other spooky Hollywood connection, that's Hollywood connection number one in my life. Obviously, because we moved there across the street from there in the early 60s. Then in the late 60s, the first time ever we went to Universal Studios, the first movie star I can remember getting my autograph from was Al Lewis. And if any of you can remember who Al Lewis was, he was from the TV show The Munsters, which was a spooky TV show anyways, but I loved it. Remember little Eddie Munster? And Grandpa was played by Al Lewis, and there I was at Universal Studios when Universal Studios like opened in the late 60s, either 68 or 69, I believe. We had some relatives came back to visit us from Ohio, and we had a Universal Studios. So that's kind of another spooky Hollywood connection, because he was a spooky character, Lewis, on a spooky show. That was just spooky, perfect story to tell around Halloween time. And in real life, he was just as nice and as sweet and as happy as an old grandfather type guy would be. Just a lovely person. So somewhere, if I ever find my little autograph book from back in the day, I'll show you his autograph. It was like a little paper autograph book, like a 3 by 4 or 3 by 5, like papers, pastel color papers, with like a cardboard cover. It's just a cute little autograph book that all us kids in grammar school bought back in the day at Thrifty Drugstore. Okay, and then my third spooky Hollywood story is my Charles Manson connection. And this, I connected the dots after the fact as an adult. I never knew how spooky it was till I was an adult. And this took place in April 1969. It was a special treat. I was such a tomboy and such a cowgirl growing up. I loved horses. So my dad, now remember, we lived right at the foot of the pass, right across from hometown. My dad, the only way you could get to the valley was to go up the Santa Susana Pass Road. My dad knew they had a little horseback riding thing off of the Santa Susana Pass off to the right. And we passed, I don't know how many times we went by there. I always say, Dad, I had a brother and sister, they didn't care about horses, but I did. All our relatives lived over in LA area in the valley, so we were forever going over the Pass Road. The only good shopping was over in the valley, Topanga Plaza. There was nothing really at that time in Simi Valley. So for a special treat, my dad surprises me one day and says, "Hey, you want to go horseback riding?" Because I had just turned 10. And so he surprised me, with no warning. We get up, we go, and bigger than beans, there we are at the Spahn Ranch, which at the time we knew nothing about. Now remember, this is April 1969. I just turned 10 years old, and there we are. And we go horseback riding, and the girl who was like our guide was a lovely girl with long blonde hair. And to this day, I'll never know if it was a Manson girl or what. She was very nice, very knowledgeable about horses. And my horse's bridle broke or something, and my horse went running wild. And she came up like a real cowgirl, grabbed my horse, fixed the bridle, and we were good to go. So I just have been thinking about that a lot, because recently that Leslie Van Houten girl, now if you look at pictures of her from back in the 60s, that's the kind of look the girl had who was our horse guide. Her hair was kind of thicker and longer. I do not believe that it was that Leslie Van Houten girl, but it was some girl with that kind of a look, like long blonde hair, much longer and much more thick, but just as sweet as can be. I'll never forget how wonderful she was, how she knew how to ride up alongside of my horse. She was like, like Dale Evans, like a real Dale